Well, these are our sheep, and they do occasionally get little mucky bottoms, as it were, because sometimes the grass is a little bit too rich. But one problem we've got in Herefordshire is that the ground is quite often deficient in a chemical or element called cobalt, and cobalt's needed to turn the food in the grass into stuff that they can process into energy. And you're right there, Joan. You okay, darling? You're going to have your tonic tomorrow, aren't you? So this is Joan. Hello, you alright? She's got a bit of a mucky bottom, but they have this tonic anyway. It's got full of cobalt and selenium, and that helps them process the cellulose into vitamin. No, it doesn't. So cobalt helps them produce vitamin B12, which helps process the cellulose into usable energy for them. We have found in the past, when they're deficient in cobalt, that they literally starve, even though the fields are full of lush green grass, because they just simply can't process the cellulose in the grass into usable energy. So they just they literally can just starve to death, which is horrible to see. And it's baffling, because you think, well, there's loads of grass around. I mean, it's nice and lush. Fields look lovely, but grass doesn't need cobalt to grow, and so it's just one of those trace elements that is in some grass but not all grass. And unfortunately in Herefordshire there's not a lot of cobalt around, so that's why we have to give them a drench every month, just so that it keeps that that element in their bodies up. Sheep are very susceptible to trace element deficiencies, and so you've got to be constantly on the lookout for symptoms that they're suffering from. One of them is diarrhea, and they can get that from worms which are in the soil, but quite often it's element deficiency, and we for a long time confused it with worms, and it wasn't worms at all. It was cobalt. So anyway, now we drench them with this tonic every month, and it solved the problem more or less within the week, and we haven't had a problem since. So that's good. Anyway, that's tomorrow's job. Okay, in our limited experience of sheep, we have found that preparation is the key. So what we've done is we've hurdled off a small area, so they're going to rush in through that gap over there, and what we're wanting to do is put them in our stables here, which hopefully it's not too dark in here. And we've got a couple of feed troughs down, and we've just put a little bit of food down in the troughs, so hopefully they'll just all have their heads down in the food buckets. And of course we've got a bucket here which we'll shake, and we sort of trained the sheep. I say trained, probably not trained, they're just like food. So we're going to rattle the bucket, and hopefully they should all come running, and we'll see if we can get them in the barn in one go. It's usually the case that if one doesn't want to go in, then you might as well give up. There's no way of getting that last one in, but hopefully they'll all go in because they like to follow the leader. Okay, let's see how this goes. Right, we're going to actually do this outside because it's much cooler outside than it is in the barn. So we've got our 14 sheep behind us, and this little one down here is Joan, who's a very friendly little lamb, or sheep now I suppose, and this is Floss behind me. And anyway, they all need a drench of this cobalt solution so that they can digest the grass into usable energy. They'll also need a little bit of dagging, but we'll do that in a separate video. So the thing which we do is, and it makes life a lot less stressful for us and for them, is to get them in a small area like this, but then to close the hurdles down so they really can't move. So they're all huddled together. It means that they can't get spooked and run. They're just held in one position, and it just means that we can move around them without sort of stressing them, and it just makes life a lot easier for us more than anything, to be honest. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to move the hurdles in and just squish them down into a smaller area. We do really live in the most beautiful part of the world, and Herefordshire is a fantastic county. It's sparsely populated, full of gorgeous countryside, lovely people, and lots of wildlife and sheep and farmyards and everything like that. And as you can see, we've got a nice happy load of sheep in the background, and yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, can't think of a better way to spend an afternoon messing around in field and tractors and sheep and everything like that. So we do count ourselves as extremely lucky.